From secretly doctored schedules hiding presidential naps to a monthly order of 720 bags of jelly beans, Ronald Reagan's daily life in the White House was far stranger than most Americans realized. The 40th president wrote thousands of handwritten letters, required specialized Secret Service agents who could outride him on horseback, and maintained workout equipment that would make modern fitness influencers jealous, all while battling a hearing loss caused by a Hollywood prop gun. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Ronald Reagan's daily routine as president. Fact 1. Staff falsified. His daily schedule. Ronald Reagan's White House staff engaged in what might be called creative scheduling, regularly doctoring the president's official daily schedule that was released to the press and public. While the published schedules made it appear that Reagan was working long, grueling hours befitting the leader of the free world, the reality behind closed doors was quite different. Every afternoon, Reagan took a nap, a habit he maintained consistently throughout his 8 years in office. Rather than list this honestly on his schedule, his staff came up with a clever workaround that allowed them to protect the president's rest time while avoiding any potential criticism about him sleeping on the job. They simply labeled these afternoon nap periods as personal staff time on the official schedules, making it sound like Reagan was attending to important administrative matters or having private meetings when he was actually catching some sleep. This wasn't just an occasional occurrence, but a regular feature of Reagan's daily routine, meaning staff members were routinely releasing schedules to journalists and the American public that didn't accurately reflect what the president was doing during those hours. The practice reveals the delicate balance the White House staff had to strike between maintaining Reagan's preferred lifestyle and managing public perception of a president who critics already accused of being detached or lazy. The fake schedules served their purpose well, as most Americans during Reagan's presidency had no idea that a significant portion of his afternoon was dedicated to napping rather than the meetings and work sessions that appeared on his official calendar. Fact 2. 720 bags of jelly beans. Monthly. Ronald Reagan's love of jelly beans wasn't just a quirky presidential preference, it was a full-scale White House operation that required serious logistical planning. The president maintained a standing monthly order for 720 bags of Jelly Belly jelly beans, which translates to approximately 306,070 individual beans arriving at the White House every single month. This wasn't just for Reagan's personal consumption, though he certainly ate his fair share from the jar on his desk in the Oval Office. The massive jelly bean shipment was distributed throughout multiple locations, including the White House itself, Capitol Hill, where members of Congress could enjoy them, and various other federal buildings across Washington. The Jelly Belly Company, based in California, became so closely associated with the Reagan presidency that they created special red, white, and blue jelly beans for his 1981 inauguration. Reagan's jelly bean habit actually started years before his presidency, when he used the candy to help himself quit smoking his pipe, replacing one oral fixation with a much sweeter and less harmful alternative. By the time he reached the White House, jelly beans had become so integral to his daily routine and public image that the White House needed a reliable supply chain to keep up with demand. The sheer volume of 720 bags per month demonstrates just how seriously Reagan and his staff took this particular aspect of presidential life, turning what could have been a minor personal preference into an iconic symbol of his administration. Fact 3. Woke later than his predecessor. While many Americans imagine the President of the United States rising before dawn to tackle the enormous responsibilities of leading the nation, Ronald Reagan preferred to start his mornings at a more leisurely pace. Reagan typically woke around 7:30 in the morning, which was significantly later than his predecessor Jimmy Carter, who was known for being an early riser and often started his workday while most of Washington was still asleep. This later wake-up time meant that Reagan often didn't actually begin his official workday until 8:45 in the morning, putting him behind schedule compared to the typical start times of other presidents and senior government officials. The contrast between Reagan and Carter was particularly stark because Carter had cultivated an image of tireless dedication, famously immersing himself in policy details and working extremely long hours. Reagan's approach to the presidency was fundamentally different, prioritizing a more balanced lifestyle that included adequate sleep and a relaxed morning routine rather than burning the candle at both ends. His staff had to work around this schedule, often handling early morning issues and briefings without the president present, then catching him up once he arrived at the Oval Office. While critics used Reagan's later wake-up time as evidence that he was disengaged or lazy, supporters argued that his well-rested approach actually made him more effective during the hours he did work. The 7:30 wake-up call and 8:45 start time became part of Reagan's disciplined routine that he maintained throughout his presidency, showing that even the leader of the free world believed in the importance of a good night's sleep and not rushing into the day. Fact 4. Secret Service couldn't keep up. Ronald Reagan created an unprecedented challenge for the United States Secret Service with his expert horsemanship skills, forcing the agency to completely rethink how they protected a president who spent significant time on horseback. Reagan was an accomplished writer with decades of experience from his Hollywood days and his California ranch. And when he became president, he had no intention of giving up one of his favorite activities. The problem was that the Secret Service agents assigned to protect him were typically selected for skills like marksmanship, defensive driving, and threat assessment, not their ability to ride horses at the level required to keep pace with Reagan. During his rides at his Rancho del Cielo in California, Secret Service agents found themselves struggling to stay with the president as he confidently navigated trails and rough terrain. On more than one occasion, Reagan had to help red-faced agents who had gotten themselves into trouble, stuck in brush, or having difficulty controlling their horses. This led to an unusual recruitment requirement where the Secret Service had to find agents who were not only qualified for presidential protection duty, but who could also ride horses expertly enough to keep up with a president who had spent years riding in Western films and on his ranch. The agency ended up having to provide special equestrian training for some agents and specifically seek out those with strong riding backgrounds when assembling the team that would accompany Reagan to his ranch. It was the first time in modern presidential history that horseback riding skills became a job requirement for Secret Service agents. Fact 5. Handwrote thousands of letters. Weekly. Despite being one of the busiest men in the world as President of the United States, Ronald Reagan personally handwrote thousands of letters to ordinary American citizens throughout his 8 years in office, a practice that consumed a significant portion of his weekend time. Reagan would sit down with yellow legal pads during his weekends at Camp David, the presidential retreat in Maryland, and write responses to dozens of letters he had received from regular Americans. These weren't brief impersonal form letters signed by an autopen machine, but genuine handwritten responses where Reagan took the time to address people's concerns, answer their questions, and share his thoughts on various topics. The letters came from people of all backgrounds, including children, elderly citizens, people who agreed with his policies, and even those who disagreed with him. Reagan saw this letter writing as an important connection to the American people, a way to stay grounded and remember who he was ultimately working for as president. His staff would screen and select letters for him to review, but Reagan himself made the decision about which ones deserved a personal handwritten response. The sheer volume was remarkable, with some estimates suggesting he wrote several thousand personal letters each year of his presidency. He would write on weekends because his weekday schedule was packed with meetings, briefings, ceremonies, and other official duties that left little time for this kind of personal correspondence. The practice gave Reagan a unique window into the lives and concerns of everyday Americans that many presidents never get, and the recipients of these letters were often shocked and deeply moved to receive a handwritten note from the president himself. Fact 6. First president with public hearing aids. In 1983, Ronald Reagan made history by becoming the first sitting president to publicly wear hearing aids, though the hearing loss that necessitated them had actually occurred more than 4 decades earlier during his Hollywood acting career. The damage to Reagan's hearing happened on the set of the 1939 film Code of the Secret Service, where he was playing a Secret Service agent in one of several B-movies he made for Warner Brothers. During the filming of an action scene, another actor fired a .38 caliber blank pistol too close to Reagan's right ear, causing immediate and permanent hearing damage. Blank cartridges, while not containing actual bullets, still produce an extremely loud explosive sound from the gunpowder charge, and when fired at close range without proper hearing protection, they can cause serious acoustic trauma. For years, Reagan dealt with the hearing loss privately, but by the time he was well into his first term as president, the deficit had progressed to the point where it was affecting his ability to function effectively. He finally agreed to be fitted with hearing aids, and rather than trying to hide them, he decided to wear them publicly. This decision helped destigmatize hearing aids for millions of Americans who were reluctant to wear them due to vanity or embarrassment. Reagan's visibility as a hearing aid user, combined with his confident, unapologetic approach to wearing them, contributed to increased acceptance of hearing aids and encouraged many older Americans to seek treatment for their own hearing loss. The fact that this presidential health issue stemmed from a minor Hollywood accident decades earlier added an ironic twist to Reagan's journey from actor to commander-in-chief. Fact 7. Built White House gym after assassination. After surviving the March 1981 assassination attempt, where John Hinckley Jr. shot him outside the Washington Hilton Hotel, Ronald Reagan made a significant change to the White House living quarters by converting a small bedroom on the second floor into a personal gymnasium. The shooting had left Reagan seriously injured with a bullet lodged near his heart, requiring emergency surgery and weeks of recovery. During his rehabilitation, doctors emphasized the importance of physical therapy and regular exercise to regain his strength and maintain his health going forward. Reagan took this advice seriously and decided that having workout equipment readily available in the White House would help him stick to a consistent exercise routine without the logistical complications of traveling to an outside gym or fitness facility. He chose a small west bedroom on the residential second floor of the White House and had it outfitted with various exercise equipment, including a treadmill, weight machines, and other fitness apparatus. One of the more interesting features was a television mounted directly in front of the treadmill, allowing Reagan to watch news or other programs while getting his cardio workout. This personal gym became an important part of Reagan's daily routine for the rest of his presidency, serving not just as a place to exercise, but as a symbol of his determination to recover fully from the assassination attempt and maintain his health, despite being the oldest person ever elected president at that time. The gym also reflected Reagan's Hollywood background and his long-standing commitment to physical fitness, which he had maintained throughout his acting career and wanted to continue even with the demanding schedule of being president. Fact 8. Set Nancy's weights back. Each evening, Ronald Reagan's evening workout routine included a small but telling gesture that revealed his relationship with First Lady Nancy Reagan and their shared commitment to fitness. After completing his own 25-minute exercise session in the White House gym, Reagan would always take the time to reset the weight machines back to lighter settings for Nancy's morning workout the next day. Nancy maintained her own exercise routine and used the same weight machines as her husband, but naturally used significantly less weight than the president. Rather than leaving the machines set at whatever weight he had been using and making Nancy adjust them herself the next morning, Reagan made it a habit to change all the settings back to her preferred weights before he left the gym each evening. He apparently found this situation amusing and would joke with Nancy that she should work harder and build up faster so he wouldn't have to keep adjusting the weights for her every day. This playful teasing was characteristic of the Reagans' relationship, which was known for being affectionate and filled with lighthearted moments even amid the serious business of running the country. The fact that Reagan took the time to do this small, considerate task every evening, even when he was exhausted from a full day of presidential duties followed by a workout, showed a side of him that the public rarely saw. It was a glimpse into the private domestic life of the first couple, where the President of the United States was still a husband who did small, thoughtful things for his wife, even if those things involved resetting exercise equipment. Fact 9. Fewer movies than Carter. Despite being actor. Despite spending decades in Hollywood as a working actor who appeared in more than 50 films, Ronald Reagan watched significantly fewer movies at the White House than his predecessor Jimmy Carter, who had no connection to the film industry whatsoever. This ironic situation surprised many people who assumed that a former actor would take full advantage of the White House's private screening room, which is equipped with state-of-the-art projection equipment and comfortable seating for watching films. Carter had been an enthusiastic user of the White House theater, frequently screening movies for himself, his family, and guests during his single term in office. Reagan, on the other hand, rarely used the White House screening facilities during the week, preferring instead to watch films on weekends when he and Nancy would retreat to Camp David, the presidential retreat in the Catoctin Mountains of Maryland. At Camp David, the Reagans would relax in a more casual environment and occasionally watch movies as part of their weekend downtime. But even there, movie watching wasn't a major part of their routine. Reagan's lack of interest in watching films at the White House might have stemmed from the fact that movies reminded him of work rather than entertainment, since he had spent so many years on film sets as an actor. It's also possible that after a full day of presidential responsibilities, Reagan simply didn't want to sit in a formal screening room and watch movies, preferring other forms of relaxation like reading, horseback riding, or spending quiet time with Nancy. Whatever the reason, the former Hollywood actor watched less cinema than the peanut farmer from Georgia who preceded him. Fact 10. Cleared brush as presidential relaxation. When Ronald Reagan escaped to his beloved Rancho del Cielo in the Santa Ynez Mountains above Santa Barbara, California, his idea of relaxation didn't involve lounging by a pool or playing golf like many other presidents. Instead, Reagan would spend hours engaged in hard physical labor, personally clearing brush with chainsaws and axes, chopping wood, and performing various ranch maintenance tasks. The 688-acre property had 2 fireplaces that Reagan liked to keep supplied with wood, and he took it upon himself to chop and split much of that wood rather than having staff do it for him. He would dress in jeans, work boots, and casual shirts, grab his chainsaw or axe, and head out to clear overgrown areas of the property or cut dead trees into manageable pieces. The Secret Service agents assigned to protect him during these working sessions had to stay alert while the President of the United States operated dangerous power tools in remote areas of his ranch. Reagan's enthusiasm for this type of manual labor was so well known that it became a running joke in Washington political circles, with critics and comedians suggesting he had a chop and clear agenda rather than a policy agenda. Reagan didn't mind the jokes because he genuinely enjoyed this work and found it therapeutic, a way to clear his mind and get exercise while accomplishing something tangible and useful. The ranch was his escape from the pressures of Washington, and the physical labor helped him feel connected to a simpler, more straightforward way of life that contrasted sharply with the complex political maneuvering of the nation's capital. Fact 11. Kept personal diary. Every single night. Throughout his entire 8-year presidency, Ronald Reagan maintained the discipline of handwriting entries in his personal diary every single night without fail, creating an extraordinary historical record of his thoughts and experiences from January 1981 through January 1989. This wasn't a sporadic journaling habit that he kept up when convenient, but a rigorous daily practice that Reagan adhered to even during foreign travel, busy campaign periods, and times of crisis. He would sit down before bed, no matter how exhausted he was from the day's activities, and write about what had happened, who he had met with, what decisions he had made, and how he felt about various events, both historic and mundane. The diary entries ranged from reflections on major international incidents and policy decisions to observations about personal interactions and everyday occurrences at the White House. Reagan recorded his innermost thoughts with remarkable honesty, knowing that these diaries would eventually become part of the historical record, but still maintaining an authentic personal voice rather than writing for posterity. The commitment required to keep a diary every night for 8 years is considerable for anyone, but especially remarkable for someone with the demanding schedule of the presidency. Reagan often wrote his entries late at night after official events, state dinners, or long days of meetings had concluded. These diaries have since become an invaluable resource for historians studying the Reagan presidency, offering insights into his decision-making process and personal perspective that official documents and public statements don't capture. Fact 12. Special jelly bean jar for Air Force One. The Jelly Belly Company's relationship with Ronald Reagan extended beyond simply supplying massive quantities of jelly beans to the White House and federal buildings. When the company learned that Reagan liked to have jelly beans available during his flights on Air Force One, they recognized a unique engineering challenge that required a custom solution. Regular candy jars or containers would be impractical on an aircraft that experiences turbulence, sudden movements during takeoff and landing, and the various forces that come with flying at high altitudes and speeds. If Reagan's jelly beans were stored in a conventional jar, they would spill all over the presidential cabin every time the plane hit rough air or made a sharp maneuver. To solve this problem, Jelly Belly designed and manufactured a special turbulence-proof container specifically for use aboard Air Force One. The container featured a secure lid and internal mechanisms that prevented the jelly beans from spilling out, even when the jar was jostled, tilted, or shaken during flight. This wasn't just a standard travel container, but a custom-engineered piece designed specifically to meet the unique requirements of keeping jelly beans stable and accessible on the president's aircraft. The company took pride in this special commission, viewing it as both an honor and an interesting technical challenge. The turbulence-proof Air Force One jelly bean jar became part of presidential aviation history, representing the lengths to which people would go to accommodate Reagan's famous sweet tooth and ensuring that the president could enjoy his favorite candy at 35,000 feet without worrying about cleaning up messes during bumpy flights. Fact 13. Sent first jelly beans to space. Ronald Reagan's love of jelly beans reached literally astronomical heights in 1983 when he decided to share his favorite candy with NASA astronauts preparing for a Space Shuttle Challenger mission, making Jelly Belly jelly beans the first jelly beans ever sent into space. Reagan, who followed the space program closely and frequently hosted astronauts at the White House, thought the astronauts might enjoy having some jelly beans to snack on during their mission. He arranged for a supply of jelly beans from his personal White House stash to be packaged and sent to NASA for inclusion in the astronauts' food supplies. NASA had to ensure the jelly beans met all the requirements for space food, which involves considerations like packaging integrity in a zero-gravity environment, shelf stability, and the prevention of crumbs or particles that could float around the spacecraft and potentially interfere with equipment. The jelly beans passed all necessary tests and made the journey into orbit aboard the Challenger, where astronauts enjoyed them while conducting their mission. This gesture was typical of Reagan's personal touch and his desire to share small pleasures with people serving their country, whether they were soldiers, civil servants, or astronauts. The fact that jelly beans had never been in space before this mission added a quirky footnote to both Reagan's legacy and the history of space food. It demonstrated how Reagan's personal preferences and habits could influence even unexpected areas like the NASA space program, turning a simple candy into a small piece of space exploration history. Fact 14. Replaced all White House mattresses. During Ronald Reagan's presidency, he made a decision that would outlast his administration by decades when he ordered all the mattresses in the White House replaced with luxury mattresses manufactured in California. Reagan had strong preferences about sleep quality and comfort, which makes sense given his later wake-up time and appreciation for afternoon naps, and he apparently found the existing White House mattresses unsatisfactory. Rather than just replacing the mattress in the presidential bedroom, Reagan decided that all the guest rooms and other sleeping quarters throughout the White House should also get new, high-quality mattresses. He chose a luxury California-made brand that met his standards for comfort and quality. The remarkable part of this story is that these Reagan-era mattresses became the standard for the White House and continued to be used long after he left office. When mattresses needed to be replaced in subsequent administrations, the White House continued ordering the same California-made mattresses that Reagan had originally selected, making his choice the official White House mattress for years to come. This meant that presidents, first families, and important guests who stayed at the White House for decades after Reagan's presidency were all sleeping on the same type of mattress that Reagan had personally chosen. It's one of the more unusual and lasting impacts Reagan had on the White House, affecting the literal comfort of everyone who slept there long after his term ended. The fact that subsequent administrations and White House staff saw no reason to change Reagan's mattress selection suggests he made a good choice in prioritizing sleep quality. Fact 15. Left office at 5 p.m. for evening workout. Ronald Reagan maintained a remarkably disciplined daily schedule that included leaving the Oval Office around 5 o'clock in the evening, a departure time that was earlier than most presidents and became part of his predictable routine. Unlike workaholic presidents who burned the midnight oil or stayed in the West Wing until late at night handling crises and reviewing documents, Reagan believed in maintaining clear boundaries between work time and personal time. When 5 o'clock approached, Reagan would wrap up whatever he was doing and head back to the residential quarters of the White House, where his personal gym awaited. This evening workout became a non-negotiable part of his daily routine, one that his staff learned to work around when scheduling meetings and events. Reagan's workout routine lasted approximately 25 minutes and involved a rotation of different exercises on different days, ensuring he worked various muscle groups and maintained overall fitness. The gym he had installed after the assassination attempt included weight machines, a treadmill with a television mounted in front, and other equipment that allowed him to get a comprehensive workout in a relatively short period. After his exercise session, Reagan would shower, have dinner with Nancy, and spend his evening relaxing, reading, or attending to any necessary paperwork in a less formal setting than the Oval Office. This disciplined approach to ending his workday and prioritizing physical fitness was somewhat controversial, with critics arguing that a president should be willing to work whatever hours necessary. But Reagan's defenders pointed out that his well-rested, healthy approach likely made him more effective during the hours he did work.